My name is Mark Toon. I'm the senior pastor of Chapel Hill Presbyterian Church in Gig Harbor, Washington. For nearly 25 years, I have led study tours to Israel and other places of religious and historical significance. I am well aware of the impact that a pilgrimage can make on a person's spiritual life. I'm also aware of how much of the history of the New Testament took place in that part of the world that we now call Turkey. The Apostle Paul came from Tarsus. The first Gentile church was established at Antioch. Galatia, Colossae, Ephesus, all of these Turkish sites received visits and letters from the Apostle Paul. All 7 churches mentioned in John's Revelation, Turkish. Ecumenical councils that defined and protected Orthodox Christian faith, the Council of Nicaea, the Council of Ephesus, occurred in this part of the world. In short, as important as ancient Palestine was to the foundation of Christianity, ancient Asia Minor, Turkey, was that important to the expansion of the faith that would one day circle the globe. Still, I wasn't very enthused. For some reason, Turkey had never been on my short list of places to visit. But at the urging of my friend, Ronen Paldi of Yala Tours, I decided to lead a group on a Footsteps of Paul pilgrimage. Many of them were seasoned travelers who had joined me on other trips. To a person, the opinion was the same. Turkey was the most surprisingly inspiring and exotic country we had ever visited. Turkey is the only country in the world that sits on 2 continents. Most of Turkey lies in modern-day Asia, but the tiniest western portion lies in Europe, a fact that gives Turkey hope of one day being received into the European Union. Indeed, the capital city of Istanbul straddles 2 continents. Istanbul must be one of the most exotic cities in the world. The ancient and modern of the city intertwine around the romantically named Golden Horn, an arm of water that thrusts its way up and around the most important landmarks in the city. The Blue Mosque is one of the most famous sites in Istanbul. Construction began in 1609. It is so named because of the 20,000 exquisite blue tiles, all produced in the nearby city of Iznik, modern-day Nicaea. At the time of its construction, the Blue Mosque was controversial because it had 6 minarets. The only other mosque with 6 minarets was in Mecca. The Sultan overcame the criticism by paying to have a 7th minaret built in Mecca. A short walk from the Blue Mosque will take you to my favorite church in the world, Hagia Sophia. Of course, it's not a church anymore, although it served as the seat of Byzantine Christianity for 900 years. Nor is it a mosque anymore, although it was converted into a mosque when the Ottoman Turks conquered then Byzantium in 1453. But when the father of modern-day Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, took power, he converted it into a museum in 1935. The size and scale of Hagia Sophia are absolutely breathtaking. Even though it would remain the largest cathedral in the world for a millennium, it was built in an astoundingly short 5 years, from 532 to 537. The gorgeous pillars that support its walls are different, shipped from every corner of the Roman world so that the entire empire might have a part in its construction. It is topped by a magnificent dome, the first of its kind in the world. It rivals St. Paul's in London for size and grandeur. But what makes it even more spectacular is this: it was built 1,000 years before St. Paul's. Because Islam prohibits idolatry, art that features human figures, the frescoes that adorned the church were covered over with whitewash when it was converted into a mosque. This action turned out to be a blessing. When the frescoes were uncovered hundreds of years later, they were in a pristine state. Today, scaffolding dominates the interior permanently. The frequent and violent earthquakes have taken their toll on this ancient structure. Some experts predict that another earthquake will bring it down. For that reason, I try to drink in the magnificence of this place every time I'm there, because I realize it just might be the last time I lay eyes upon it. Every Christian ought to visit Hagia Sophia in their lifetime. As spectacular as the frescoes and mosaics in Hagia Sophia, they do not compare to those at the church at Kora. It is much smaller, but the ceilings and walls are spectacularly adorned with frescoes and mosaics that proclaim the stories of the Bible. Better bring a mirror, otherwise, after hours of craning your neck, you will be in pain. Not all of Istanbul's must-see sites are religious. The Grand Bazaar is a shopping experience of a lifetime. From silks to jewelry to antiques, Its 58 streets and 6,000 shops overflow with merchandise being peddled by friendly but persistent merchants. Come ready to barter, but take care to note which of the 11 gates you enter by. You will likely lose yourself in this labyrinth, and you'll need to know how to find your bus when you're done. The spice market is one of my favorites. You can almost taste the color of the displays. Brilliant reds and oranges and greens. Your nose competes with your eyes for sensory overload. You'll want to taste Turkish delight, the real thing, not the stuff you buy in English grocery stores. There are hundreds of flavor variations, and it is like nothing you've ever tasted before. And while you're there, get a great deal on some saffron for that next Indian dinner you cook. You'll want to snack your way through Istanbul, nibble on freshly roasted nuts, sip carefully at Turkish coffee. It is an acquired taste, I'm afraid. And gobble down as many doner kebab sandwiches as you can. They are marvelous. No trip to Istanbul is complete without a boat ride on the storied Bosphorus Straits. The Bosphorus is a narrow neck of water that connects the Black Sea with the Sea of Marmara. It is a vital commercial and strategic link. You will see flags of every nation flying on the massive ships that churn their way back and forth. Now, turn your eyes to the shore for a feast of beautiful palaces, castles, and mosques. This is some of the most expensive real estate in the world. Location, location, location. The Beylerbeyi Palace is a spectacular summer home built in the Baroque style by Sultan Abdulaziz. He entertained foreign dignitaries here. Most famously, the Empress of France visited here on her way to the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869, and was slapped in the face by the Sultan's mother for daring to enter the palace on the arm of her son. Franco-Turkish relations were a little tense for a while. Istanbul is a spectacular introduction to Turkey, but it is only an introduction. To the east, over the mile-long Bosphorus Suspension Bridge, it is a short drive to Iznik, modern-day Nicaea. It was from his imperial palace here that Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. All but 2 of the bishops who gathered from across Christendom affirmed the creed that was composed here, a creed that declares the full divinity of Jesus. Arius, the infamous heretic who refused to affirm the creed, was banished from the empire. Iznik is also famous for its beautiful blue tiles, known as Iznik tiles. Nearby is Bursa, the first capital of the Ottoman Empire. The Green Mosque in Bursa boasts an elaborately carved marble door, the most beautiful in the region. Nearby, the Green Tomb is decorated with beautiful turquoise tiles. Bursa is the center of the thriving silk industry, essential for the production of the famous Turkish rugs. No trip to Turkey is complete without a visit to a Turkish rug center. These wool and silk rugs are works of art. A simple 18-inch rug can fetch more than $100,000. But don't worry, there are styles, colors, and prices for every budget, and these guys are really good at persuading you to take one home. A few hours to the south are the ruins of Aphrodisias. Dedicated to the goddess of love, Aphrodisias was built by the Greeks after Alexander the Great conquered this part of the world, but it flourished under the Romans. It was buried by a series of ancient earthquakes and only rediscovered in the 1960s by archaeologist Kenan Erim. Dr. Erim received the rare honor of being buried within the ancient site that he unearthed. Aphrodisias was a renowned center for the arts, particularly sculpture. Nearby is spectacular Pumakale, the Cotton Castle. The White Hills can be seen from miles away. What looks like a dazzling ice wall is, in fact, the beautiful travertine residue of millennia of deposits from the mineral-laden waters of that area. Spend a night at one of the spa hotels. Float in the warm mineral baths. The healing properties of these waters was as well known 2,000 years ago as they are today. Great to soak in, but lousy to drink. In fact, when you visit the ancient site of Laodicea, you'll be reminded of the harsh words found in the 3rd chapter of the Revelation. Ancient pipes that carried hot water from Pumakale in the distance are still visible, as well as those that brought fresh drinking water from the other direction. By the time the hot water arrived, it had cooled down. By the time the cold water arrived, it had warmed up. When Jesus speaks through John to the Laodiceans, saying, "Because you are neither hot nor cold, but lukewarm, I will vomit you out of my mouth," it was a powerful spiritual illustration taken from the reality of their everyday life. Pergamum is another of the churches of the Revelation. Built on top of a 1,000-foot-tall cone-shaped hill, it commands an impressive view in all directions. It was the home of the second-largest library in the ancient world. It was here that a new kind of writing material was invented, parchment, which draws its name from this city. Visit the site described as Satan's throne, a harsh reminder of the brutal Roman government that ordered Antipas, the first Asian martyr, roasted to death in a bronze kettle. The Pergamum Theater is the most spectacular I have ever seen. It is huge, carved into the side of a hill, as most were, but it is so steep that even the mountain goats in your group will want to walk carefully up and down those stairs. But the most impressive of the seven cities, and to my mind, perhaps the most impressive of all Roman excavations, is the city of Ephesus. Ephesus was renowned for its temple of Artemis, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Hordes of pilgrims traveled from all over the Roman world to worship at this site. It was a strategic crossroads, and Paul took advantage of this by establishing a church here and staying longer than any other city he visited. The best approach to Ephesus is from the eastern gate. Walking downhill on the ancient Roman stones, you are dwarfed by the pillars that line this still magnificent road. To the left, you will notice the mosaic floors of the upper crust homes. Watch for the holes in the marble where street lamps once stood, and keep an eye out for the tiles that formed an expansive underground water and sewage system. You'll want to stop at the headwaters of that sewage system. Public toilets in Roman times were gathering places to discuss business and civic affairs. Weird, I know, but it's true. They even had string quartets playing to provide a lovely ambiance. A spectacular sight awaits at the bottom of the road. Celsus Library was the third largest library in the ancient world. The magnificent facade gives a glimpse of what must have been a breathtaking welcome to scholars who journeyed here from every corner of the world. And after you've taken your pictures, turn north. You'll come to the Ephesian Theater, the largest in the region. It seated 24,000 people. It was here that early Christians listened to the chants of the angry crowds. "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians! Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" Her temple, a source of significant revenue, once sat right over the hill. And when Paul began to preach against idolatry, it put a significant dent in their cash flow. Finally, a long walk down the road that once led to the docks. Now the sea is 5 miles distant. Over the centuries, the Meander River silted up what was once one of the busiest ports in the ancient world. A few miles away is Selçuk. Here stand the ruins of the Basilica of St. John, built upon the burial site of the beloved disciple, who authored the Gospels and letters by his name, as well as the fiery and mysterious Revelation. This monumental basilica was shaped like a cross and featured 6 domes. John is the only one of the original 12 disciples who did not die a martyr's death. Evidence suggests that he lived and continued to write nearly into the 2nd century. Oh, and that spectacular temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world? All that remains of it is one pillar with a crane's nest on top. How the mighty have fallen. You will overnight in the beautiful seaside town of Kuşadası. As long as you are there, you must take a 1-day boat ride to the island of Patmos, the site of St. John's imprisonment around 95 AD. Patmos belongs to the Greeks now, and though there is no love lost between the Turks and the Greeks, it is easy to make your way there. It will be an inspiring end to your pilgrimage. Patmos is worth a visit just for its beauty. Flat-topped white homes dot the hillsides. The gorgeous bay welcomes both cruise ships and fishing boats. If you did nothing more than meander through the narrow streets to shop, eat baklava, and sip strong coffee, it would be worth your day. But don't. Grab a bus and ride to the top of the hill. First stop is the Cave of the Apocalypse. Here it is believed John received the visions that formed the strange, colorful, and troubling final book of the New Testament, the Revelation. You will be shown to an indentation in the wall of that cave where John is said to have laid his head to receive the visions from the Lord. From the cave, you'll want to visit the St. John Monastery, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Built to honor the apostle who was once imprisoned on this site, the monastery houses an impressive collection of ancient icons, silverware, and jewels, as well as ancient manuscripts, including a spectacularly illustrated Gospel of Mark dating back 1,500 years. Turkey is huge, And this only brushes the surface. There are so many things to see. The Hittite Museum in Ankara. Yes, those Hittites we read about in the Old Testament. The ancient cave church in Antioch, home of the missionary movement to the Gentiles. Underground cities that housed thousands of people for a year at a time. And the extraordinary and indescribable fairy chimneys in Cappadocia. If this has whetted your appetite to make a pilgrimage to the land of Paul and John, good. You will never forget it. If, like I was, you are still reticent, take it from a convert. Turkey is one of the most surprising and inspiring countries in the world. And no one can do a better job of getting you there than the folks at Yalla Tours. It will be a trip of a lifetime, and if you are one who loves the Scriptures, you will never read the Bible the same way again. I promise.